I, 23 female, grew up in a really crappy adoptive family. I was very book smart, and my grades were very good. However, my adoptive parents only saw the numbers and treated me like a trophy. I was emotionally neglected and abused until I left at 21. I took a 23andMe DNA test a year or so ago. I've since met the man, 28, of my dreams, and we're cohabitating and engaged. I got an Instagram DM a few weeks ago where a teenager told me I was her biological full sibling and that she, my other siblings, and my bio parents wanted to meet me. I had always been told by my adoptive parents that my biological parents were teenagers, and that's why they gave me up. It turns out they were both 25, in a stable relationship, and just didn't want a kid with developmental disabilities. I have moderate autism, so they threw me away when I was 2, not an infant, as I'd been told growing up. They now have 6 kids, and I was the only one they gave up for adoption. I agreed to meet them at a restaurant, and they asked me for money to help with their finances. My fiance works in finance, and NDA prevents me from saying more, and I own a handmade jewelry business. We're both financially well off and hope to retire by my fiance's 35th birthday. I felt very angry at them for doing what they've done, throwing a disabled toddler away. I told them as much, speaking about how they had a happy family. I was alone and abused. I'm in therapy because of my childhood. I told them that I didn't owe them anything because they threw me away. I paid for the meal and tip and drove back home. I've been getting DMs from the family plus extended family for the last 2 weeks that I'm an idiot and that family is family. I feel so exhausted and broken down. Am I the idiot? Edit. I checked my 23andMe before meeting them, and there was indeed a full sibling, which is why I met up with them in the first place. My Instagram is full of pictures of the vacation my partner and I have taken. It's not a huge leap to assume we have a comfortable lifestyle. Not the idiot. Family as family suddenly applies when they need something, but their extended family didn't beat their butts when they threw away their 2-year-old. They aren't your family. They're your genetic donors and temporary incubators, nothing else. Tell them if they continue to harass you, then you'll file harassment charges. Save every message as proof to hand over to get restraining orders or anything you can. Yeah, they have the nerve to say family is family. Where was that sentiment when you were 2? Family is family, unless it becomes inconvenient, then they're not family. But once financial support is needed, they become family again. OP should tell them, if family meant that much, they wouldn't have thrown away a child. Honey, you owe them nothing. It sounds like they reached out to you for money. So tacky on their part. Just go no contact and block them. You've been doing just fine on your own. If they wanted to have a real relationship with you, they would have never asked you about money when meeting you for the first time in 21 years. You were very generous in meeting them. You gave them one chance. They showed you that they only want money from you. Block them all and live your best life. You deserve all the happiness you can get. My tween stepdaughter wants long hair, but doesn't brush it while we're out. It's past her waist now. It becomes a tangled mess from her clothes, movement, weather, headphones, etc. She'll brush it in the morning at home, but won't do it again later in the day or allow us to do it. I hope you believe me that it looks awful, like she hasn't brushed it in days. I don't see other kids with long hair look like this. She somehow gets a teased look with parts sticking up, half folded over and up, divided strands so it looks unwashed, and balls of knots. If she's at home, in a park, playing with kids physically, or being active, then I don't care. She doesn't go out with her mom much. Her mom is a homebody and doesn't like crowds, events, spending money, etc. So her mom doesn't see or deal with this as much as we do. In contrast, my husband and I are very social and love events, and it's not a hardship to buy tickets and outings all the time. I know brushing hair in a restaurant or near other people is icky. I try to catch her in the bathroom or when we're not near others. I care because I think it makes her father and I look neglectful. I'm embarrassed. It's not about looks. We're a bit alternative looking, so I 100% wouldn't care if this was about style or expression. I care because she looks dirty. so it will reflect badly on us, the parents, who are out with her. My husband just doesn't care. He doesn't care about looks. He's very blind to details, such as house cleaning. He's literally a doesn't notice a dirty floor type of person. Plus, he says, but she brushes her hair in the morning. So I'm the nagging stepmom solely caring about my stepdaughter's hair. Would you judge the parents if you saw a teen with rat nest hair? Or figure the kid's just making their own decisions and being stubborn? It's also unfortunate because she wants to keep growing it out. So I'm worried it'll look worse and worse. Lord, I'm embarrassed and worried that I look like a neglectful parent. Am I the idiot for wanting to make it a rule that we brush it when she looks like she's been through a hurricane later in the day? You are the idiot. Nowhere in your story do you actually show any concern toward your stepdaughter. You make it very clear how much you worry about yourself and how others will perceive you. What an awful stance to have. By pushing your perspective in this situation, you're sending a clear message to your stepdaughter that you care more about yourself than her. Your motivations are twisted and selfish, so maybe take some time to figure out why you care more about what strangers think of you than your stepdaughter's feelings. Yeah, OP says, I'm going to fix how you look because it reflects badly on me. And that's pretty toxic. This is all about OP and not the stepdaughter. Hair is not really the hill to die on. Children often feel powerless in their lives, and hair is a way of exerting a small piece of control. It allows them to learn how to make decisions about their bodily autonomy without having permanent consequences. With respect, basic maintenance of hair is basic hygiene. You wouldn't want her running around with food all over her face or filthy clothes either. It's level 1 of self-care. Expecting a kid who's about to go into middle school to be able to have the hygiene level of a third grader has nothing to do with bodily autonomy. You're not controlling the hair's cut, color, or length. You just want it to be clean and neat. OP's not the idiot. My nephew is a toddler, and we only learned about him a few months ago. Obviously, the last few months have been rough on all of us, but especially my brother, who I think was in shock and denial for the longest time. One of the big reasons his ex didn't tell my brother about their son was because she didn't want him to grow up spoiled and entitled like most of my family. My parents also really hated her and did a lot to try and get my brother to dump her. E.g., my dad had her fired from her grad job, and I think he was the reason she couldn't get another one in that field for the longest time, so she was scared of how they'd react if they knew. My nephew's birthday was right around the time we found out, so we weren't able to celebrate. His ex would only accept one small gift from my brother for him, so my family's belatedly celebrating his birthday, and they're going all out. My brother's bought more toys than one kid needs, and is talking about taking him to Disney, even though there's no way in the world his ex would let him take my nephew abroad. Anyway, we were talking about the party yesterday. I told my brother we should tone it down, and he shouldn't give his son that many gifts in one go, because it'll upset his ex, and most likely overwhelm my nephew, whose life has already been flipped upside down. For my nephew's sake, I think it would be best if we work with his ex, because we're all going to be connected forever now, so there's no point in fighting or holding on to grudges. My brother disagreed and said he wouldn't let his ex dictate his relationship with his son. I was going to explain why fighting with her wouldn't be good for my nephew, but our cousins were all siding with him and crapping on me for defending her. They think I'm only siding with her because she was one of my best friends, and I'm trying to be friends with her again. I do want her as a friend, but that's beside the point. I was irritated because they were ganging up on me, and in the heat of the moment I said, "This is exactly why she never told you about him," to my brother. He didn't say anything, but my cousins tore me to shreds. My brother's barely spoken to me since, and for some reason, our family is now convinced I knew about my nephew all along, when I absolutely didn't. My brother's also being so nasty to his ex now, when he wasn't before, and I think it's because he's taking his anger at me out on her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You spoke the truth. Your brother feeling entitled that his ex doesn't get any say in how he interacts with their child Sounds like precisely why she concealed that info from him. The very first opportunity he had, he showed that he would not respect her boundaries. I'm also guessing that his being an idiot who doesn't respect her wishes is related to why they're exes. Most parolees don't want to become single parents with no involvement or support from the other parent without any reason. I hope she files for full custody. I bet she already regrets telling him. I feel bad for her and the little boy. I have a sneaking feeling she might not have told him, to be honest. Either it got out accidentally through flying monkeys, or it was something like OP's brother was stalking her account and saw one of her posts. Also, considering he's never been in his child's life and his current behavior, I think a judge would have to be bat crap to give him any form of custody. That's what I'm afraid of. They might encourage OP's brother to go for custody of their child and use their affluence to sway the court's decision in their favor. They have all the power. They ruined her career, permanently. The brother admits he was the right idiot to her when they broke up, after making sure she was financially dependent upon him. And most of all, it's a boy, a son. Of course he'll try to take the child, and he's starting by trying to buy the kid's heart. That poor woman, she's doomed. Mini update. A friend of hers told my brother about the child. I don't think she knows, but that's how we found out. I would tell her, but given the situation, I doubt she'll believe me right now. My brother isn't a horrible person. He's had a huge bomb dropped on him, and his emotions are all over the place. It doesn't help that everyone is feeding his anger by constantly telling him it's all her fault, and she's some evil witch who did this to be spiteful. I know once he gets his emotions in check, he'll see the reason and do what's best for his son. He actually blamed himself when he first found out because he was an idiot, his words, to her when he broke up with her. So part of him knows this isn't all of her fault. OP, a sliver of self-awareness, isn't worth much when he's treating both you and his ex atrociously. She's not going to give a crap if he knows he's an idiot, if he's still being an idiot. His character lives in his behavior, not his internal monologue. Please do tell her, God, this woman needs an ally and any help she can get. Your family sounds horrendous and toxic. To make a long story short, my 44 female, father 73, passed away earlier this year. He had only 2 daughters, my sister and me. My sister has 3 daughters, and I have only 1 son, teen, until my youngest, young grammar school age, was born. My father's will specified that he wanted his male grandson to have his gold pocket watch, a vintage Patek Philippe worth a fortune. However, he made this will years ago, before I had my second job, so of course he had 2 grandsons when he died. I got the watch on my eldest son's behalf, and as I handed it to him, I proposed we find a solution to include my youngest as well. Maybe the watch can belong to both of them. Perhaps we could sell it and split the money into their college funds. My son said I shouldn't propose anything because the watch belongs to him, and I'm putting him in a tough spot. I said he should consider that he's not the only grandson anymore. My husband, the father of my youngest, not my oldest, said I was an idiot to make this proposition and should just drop it. I disagreed because I left the decision up to my son and didn't force anything. I left the decision up to my son and didn't force anything? What a load of crap. You are the idiot. Your father made his wishes very clear, and you know he wanted his firstborn grandson to have the watch. Even your son's stepdad says you're an idiot, and yet you're guilt-tripping your oldest son into sharing or selling what is rightfully his. You can pretend that's not forcing him to do anything. Still, you'd be delusional, because that's a lot of pressure on your son to do the right thing by your definition versus honoring his grandfather's wishes by everyone else's definition. I strongly encourage you to honor your father's wishes and apologize to your son for putting him in such an uncomfortable position. The watch is 100% his, and he should cherish that memory rather than cheapen it by asking him to sell it. The idea that you would take this inheritance and sell it to give a young kid cash against the will of the grandfather, your older son, and your own father strikes me as terrible parenting. It's also clear that the only thing that matters to you here is the financial value of the watch. What is it with all these people trying to steal their child's inheritance to make it fair to someone not in the will? The only fair thing to do is honor the bequest of the will. Another parent will gladly sacrifice the child of their prior marriage to kiss the butt of the new golden child. How do you tell your older son that he's been replaced with a shiny new upgrade? What else have you stolen from your old, used, and expired child? It's bonkers that your husband gets it and you don't. That's not your inheritance, and you don't get to say anything about it. This is about my son Ryan. When Ryan was a senior in college, he told me one of his one-night stands told him she was pregnant. I told him he should get a DNA test to be sure that he's the father. So he did that, and when the results came back, he started to date her since he was the father. The woman, Shelley, has never liked me. The first time I met her, she commented that I must think so little of her to convince Ryan to get a DNA test. The relationship started on a horrible note. Shelley integrated into the family, but our relationship didn't warm up. Overall, I just avoided her for the most part. I was civil at events, but we were not buddies. They got engaged about 2 years ago. Around last Halloween, Shelley was telling the family I was saying horrible things about her. I wasn't. It was my word against hers, and my son gave me an ultimatum. I apologize or I won't be invited to the wedding. I refused to apologize for something I didn't do, so I was uninvited to their wedding. At Christmas, she told the family that if I was invited for the holidays, then they would not come. There was a big drama, and the family split the festivities into 2 days. My sister and her husband have been on my side for all of this. The wedding's in 2 weeks. I received a call from Ryan last night. It boiled down to Shelley admitted to lying to him. She saw how sad he was that I wouldn't be at the wedding and told him the truth. He re-invited me to the wedding. I told him I was unsure and I would think about it. I don't want to go to the wedding for several reasons. I don't support the wedding. I don't wish to be around my future daughter-in-law. I'm very mad that she did this in the first place. My reputation in the family's been affected by her lies. And finally, she hasn't apologized. The truth is getting around the rest of the family, and opinions are split. Some think I would be a jerk for not going, and others think I'm justified in not going. Also, I'm still determining if I want a relationship with Ryan, if he's with Shelley. Edit. All the family knows she lied. My son cleared that up with everyone, so my reputation is clear in that. Not the idiot. In my opinion, you shouldn't go to the wedding until you get a proper apology from Shelley. She does not get to tell lies about you and then skate off scot-free. She owes you an apology. Let your son know that this is the requirement as soon as possible. Make sure you get a proper apology, not a fake apology, e.g., I'm sorry you felt that way about what I said. Your son should have gotten the truth from her before the invitations were sent out, and he proposed instead of waiting a couple of weeks before the wedding. Shelley's a piece of work. She should have remembered the golden rule about marrying into someone's family and not creating or causing trouble for family members. Honestly, tell your son you'll go to his next one. There will definitely be a next one if this is the person he's marrying. Ryan really needs to ask himself if he truly wants to be saddled with a lying troublemaker who may try to do something like this again to some other family member besides you. Ryan may have felt obligated to marry Shelley because he got her pregnant. Still, she's not entitled to expect to be treated as she wanted when she did the abuse of lying. It's always scary when people are willing to lie through their teeth. Once you know someone is capable of that, how can you trust what they say? I genuinely would not go, but whatever you decide. Update. I've decided not to go. I don't believe it'll be good for me, and I'll explain to Ryan why I'm choosing this. I also don't think a wedding is the time to reconcile. I'll also explain that receiving no apology from either of them factors into my decision. Even if I got one now, I still wouldn't go because I know it's forced. He's an adult. He'll need to take the first steps to fix this, not me.